SGA once again. Little hesitation. The left hand. What a move by SGA.
Attack for another block.
Chet Holmgren, the long arm of the law.
Back in the game. These are key minutes without SGA. And another drive. J. Dom cocks it back and throws it down.
This is Udart. You're listening to the Uncontested.
What is up, Thunder fans, and welcome to the Uncontested podcast. We are proudly brought to you all by Blue Wire Podcast Network, as well as our good friends over at Prairie Artisan Ales. Shout out, Prairie. I'm rocking the shirt tonight. We had an awesome watch party, regardless of what the final score was last night of Game 6 against the Indiana Pacers. The turnout was just incredible. Prairie was, as usual, an incredible host. So accommodating. They had additional seating getting ready for the watch party. It still was like standing room only, people like up against the pickleball like glass, like trying to watch. It's just an incredible turnout. It was so cool to see all of you guys. We had somebody from Brazil, shout out Agatha, who was there, which was awesome. Nick and I's friend from Germany, Sid, was there, which is super fun. And then so many familiar faces as well. So just want to give a huge shout out to Prairie. A huge shout out to all of you who came out for our watch party for Game 6, even if the game didn't go quite as how we wanted to. You can find us on all social media platforms, X, YouTube. Hopefully, most of you are watching live right now. But if not, be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We go live after every game, usually. We're a little late after this one. And we have our weekly group podcast as well. And if you don't already, in the upper left-hand corner of your screen, there's an awesome QR code that our guy Justin put together where you can scan that, join our Patreon, get access to bonus content, as well as access to our Discord. You can either celebrate in the Discord like we did for Game 5, or you can mourn with fellow Thunder fans after a loss like Game 6. I'm joined by my longtime good friend, Nick Crane. Nick, how's it going?
I'm glad to see you brought the chain back out.
I did. I told you I would.
Chain away for a while, and you're back now. I'll bring mine out too. We'll be chain gang attitude tonight.
The Wasso boys.
Yeah.
Nick had the brilliant idea of pulling up some old podcasts of ours from the beginning of the season when we were all together in Indianapolis. And we watched some of our preview podcasts for the season and some of our bets predictions. And Chet. Some of them involved Chet.
Yeah.
But Nick mentioned the chain. So I told him I would go and find it wherever it was and bring it back out. Let's hope it's not bad luck. I didn't wear it last night for what it's worth.
You did wear it last night or no?
I did not. I did not.
Okay.
So maybe this is good luck. We'll see. We'll see. Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Nick, we are now 24 hours after the Thunder pretty much just got their absolute butts beat against the Indiana Pacers, Game 6. 24 hours out. How are you feeling? What are some of your overall thoughts before we kind of dive into this game a little bit?
A few things. Like, I think there's been mostly like negative discourse entering Game 7, which is like not surprising given the way Game 6 went. My counter to the negativity, because that's what I do here. I try to bring a little bit of realism. Everyone always says
you're the devil's advocate, but sometimes that's a really good thing.
No, everyone always says I was the like negative guy in the pod, but I think people start to realize that it's not negative. It's just when everything's going well, I was bringing different perspective, and when everything's going bad, I bring different perspective. It's not always negative. A few things. If you had told any Thunder fan back in October when the season started that the Thunder would be in the NBA Finals, Game 7, call it a coin flip. It's really probably better than a coin flip, like Oklahoma City, whether you look at it from a Vegas odds standpoint or an analytics standpoint or like how they've been at home standpoint. They're probably 65% chance of winning the NBA Finals. And if you told any Thunder fan in October that Game 7 against the Indiana Pacers, win it and you're champs, I think everybody would be jumping for joy and saying insanely successful season. That's when you look at a big picture. Obviously, there's a lot of context that goes into that and the way the season went down and expectations change, and the series has been kind of a roller coaster, and everything feels like it's panic mode. And how did this get to Game 7? And it should have been over earlier. And no way that the Thunder wins. Like, if you look at it big picture, like Oklahoma City's in a really awesome spot back at home. They got the best player in the series, and Shea. Like, things are fine. So first thing I would say is I don't understand all the negative discourse. I also would say, if you're a Thunder fan, get used to this. Like, the only way there's not pressure and shitty moments, and like the thing I keep seeing, like in our Discord and Slacks and et cetera, is like there's like this pit in people's stomach and they're all anxious and nervous. Like, that's what comes with being a good team that goes deep into the playoffs. Like, you can't
Especially a young team.
that you have all this nervous energy, but then also say the Thunder are going to be title contenders for the next decade. Cause like, that's what comes with it. If you don't feel something as a fan of any sports team, it's generally because they're not very good and they're not in big moments. So while I'm not sitting here saying you shouldn't feel nervous or have whatever emotions you're feeling, what I'm saying is, if you think this team is as good as we think it can be for the next 5 to 10 years, this is going to be very normal.
Embrace it.
There's not going to be a sweep in the finals ever as good as this team's going to be. So that's my thoughts. Like, that's maybe more of like a differing perspective than I've seen online, but things are good, man. You're watching a team that you like or cover, or wherever you're listening to this podcast, you have some interest in the Thunder
Or hate.
or hate
watches.
regardless. The Thunder is in Game 7 of the finals, and there's 28 other teams that would love to say that right now, but they can't. And they're talking about the draft or what trade they're going to make. Like,
We've been there. We've
enjoy
been there,
this
Nick.
shit, man. I've just never seen so many people online that follow a team that are just angry and disgusted when their team has 48 minutes to win a title. Like, you should be happy.
Quick pause there, because I did, unfortunately, forget to give a shout out to our guy Smoot, longtime listener, longtime friend of the podcast. He was with Jacob on the East Coast for some games this regular season. He also was at the watch party, which was awesome. One of the first people I saw when I walked in. He hung out with us the entire time. Shout out Smoot. He said he's driving back up for Game 7, so can't wait to see him. Nick, I think you were spot on. So many thoughts there that I have based off what you said, but like, just looking at the discourse, and again, this is so much more than just sports. Funny enough, I had this conversation last week with some coworkers, but it's always like the extremes, right? The Thunder win. There's an article that comes out on ESPN about J-Dub being the next Scottie Pippen, and Scottie saying that he's better than J-Dub, or that J-Dub could be better than Scottie, has a higher ceiling. And then J-Dub has a NBA Finals worst, minus 40 plus minus, and J-Dub's not ready for the moment. I saw takes, shout out, I think it was Titus, not Tate. I get them confused sometimes. Oh, it was Mark. Yeah, Mark Titus, who had all of his Pacers gear on, weirdly enough. And
funny.
Just so happened to say that Shea's the worst MVP of all time, right? Like,
or even like, I saw one today. I don't remember the network of the show. It was a show that, like, I have respect for. I'm not like losing respect for them doing this, because it's like it clicks. It was a respectable show, and the topic was, is Tyrese Halliburton the worst superstar to ever win a championship if he wins this? And it's like
there's a game to play.
Believe, not even that, but believe whatever you want about his calf. Is it being overstated? Is it like actually screwed up and he's just playing through it? Regardless, we're talking about a dude that has been like unbelievable in the playoffs, and like, numbers aside, has been like led his team to the NBA Finals, beating multiple teams that were better than them all season long. And instead of talking about that, you're talking about, is he the worst superstar ever?
Right.
Like, come on.
After playing an incredible Game 6 on a bad calf. You're
wild,
spot
man.
on. And I think
that's the generation we live in, though. That's this era.
That's my point. And I think you're talking about fans, specifically Thunder fans, like trying to encourage them instead of like tear them down. I think it's just so easy to get caught up in social media these days and like this bubble that we live in. Ultimately, you're spot on. And I keep coming back, like, it makes me think as well. We're talking big picture thoughts here. And I promise we'll actually dive into the game a bit before looking ahead to Game 7. But so many Thunder fans are thinking if Tyrese Halliburton doesn't hit that game winner game one and the Thunder close that game out, they're NBA champions already. On the flip side, and just as rightfully so, Pacers fans are saying the same thing. If we don't give up game 3, we win the finals last night. Guess what? That's why it's the finals.
Yeah.
The two best teams. I don't care if the Pacers on paper aren't like one of the more talented teams in the league, whatever it may be. They're playing their best basketball at the best time. They continue to peak at the right time. And we have the two best teams in basketball right now playing each other. And that should be celebrated. Instead, we're like, national media is concerned or upset because KD hasn't been traded yet, right? There's not enough rumors and all that crap coming out. But regardless, we have an incredible series. You're spot on. Unfortunately, game 6 was not an incredible game, Nick. The Pacers beat the Thunder 108-91, and honestly, it was not that close. They essentially won that game by 30 because both teams waved the white flag there towards the end and put in substitutions. Just like quickly, some stats. If you would have told me that, Nick, that the Thunder were going to lose that game the way they did, I would have told you that it was because the Pacers did what we've seen throughout the playoffs. They were red hot from 3, played great offensively, and the Thunder weren't able to hit shots. And that really wasn't the case. The Pacers were 41% from the floor. The Thunder 41% from the floor, 42% from the floor. Thunder 26% from 3. The Pacers only 35% from 3. Obviously much better than the Thunder, but not like an elite shooting performance from them. Free throws, Thunder had one more at 26 than the Pacers did, regardless of what you hear on social media. The rebounds were very close. The assist is a huge issue. Thunder only had 14 yet again on the road to the Pacers 23. Pacers had 16 steals to the Thunder's 4, which really stands out to me.
That's the number.
And the Thunder had 21 turnovers to the Pacers 10. And so the story, we can go through all the stats, but it doesn't really matter. I think there's two big themes that you and I talked about earlier today before we jumped on the podcast, Nick. And they both deserve equal attention. I don't want to take away from the Pacers, nor do I want to discredit the Thunder's lack of focus. But I think the Thunder came out just not prepared, not ready. The moment was a little too big. They seemed a little nervous, like we still have a game 7 to rely on back home. They just came out not really engaged, and there's a lot of reasons for that we'll break down. And equally, on the flip side of the coin, the Pacers played incredible defense. And I have some notes on that as well. So I'm not sure where you want to start. I'm not sure if you agree or disagree. But those were my big 2 takeaways from this game.
Yeah, I mean, like the numbers are the outcome or the result. I think like it's easy to analyze, and numbers should be analyzed. I'm not sitting here saying like you shouldn't look at the data that you can see post game and like understand what happened. But I think that game was more process than it was a result. Like we could look at 4 steals to 12 steals or whatever it was. I don't think that's like the Thunder defense necessarily didn't swarm enough. I think it's just like the process of the game.
16 steals to 4.
16
so
to 4.
A 12 difference. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like that's the outcome of the result, but the process in which that happened is like the real story to me. The story of this series has been the team that plays the Thunder style has been wildly successful. And that's generally been the home team. The Pacers still won game 1 on the road. The Thunder still won a game 4 on the road. But like even in those 2 games, the Pacers were the way better team all game in game 4. Thunder the way better team game 1 the entire time. And there's something about like we can get into the nitty-gritty of pickup points and who guarded who, and are you hedging, are you dropping, are you all the different coverages and schemes. Like we can dive that all day long. But the reality is like for whatever reason at home, these teams feel more comfortable and they play with a different edge. And like, I love digging into the analytics and the numbers and the schemes, but at the end of the day, these teams play different in front of their home crowd and the energy level is different. And that results in all of the numbers you just mentioned. Is like,
well, I have some more numbers for you, Nick.
I have
some more.
And I
more
guarantee
for you.
all of those have to do with feeling comfortable and playing your style.
Yes, they do. And they come from some bullshit reporter. I'm not sure if he's legit or maybe he's a burner account. Some guy on Twitter named Crane NBA.
Oh, boy.
Not sure who that is. The Thunder's playoff run has been drastically different based off game locations. OKC at home, 10-2 this playoffs. OKC on the road, 5-5, 50%. And then you also had this great stat that I really love, Nick. At Paycom Center, the Thunder have led 136 minutes of game time in comparison to Indiana's 2 minutes and 55 seconds. The flip side, at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, where we were last week, OKC has only led 34 minutes to the Pacers' 94 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah.
It goes exactly.
There's something about it. And that does not mean the Thunder will dominate Game 7 and win by 20. Like, they have the entire playoffs in kind of closeout games or big moment games in Oklahoma City. But I think, like, if I had to pin it to like one thing, like what's the one thing, this is not like a hot take, like it's pretty simple basketball. It's the supporting cast, whether you call that like the third, fourth, fifth option, whether you consider that the bench. At home, the teams that are in front of their home crowd get much better production. And that's just not just points per game. Like, it goes deeper than that. There's like defensive production and swarming, and like the non SGA and Dub and the non Siakam Halliburton guys at home show up.
Yep.
And when that happens at Paycom Center, the Thunder are so freaking hard to beat. Conversely, when they go to Gainbridge, they can't do anything. It's a weird phenomenon, but like if you go back and look at NBA finals of the past, it's actually not that weird. Like, there's a lot of finals where it's like it went to 6 or 7, but like the home team dominated the entire time. And I think that goes to Mark's quote after Game 6. It's like, we worked all year. Whatever he said, we worked all year to earn this. And like home court advantage, Game 7 of the NBA Finals, while it wasn't the Cavs like we thought it might be, who they were competing with for that number 1 spot in the NBA, like, based on the data, this is a humongous deal that Game 7 is at home.
That's a great point and a reason for optimism when we're looking ahead to Game 7. But looking back to Game 6, one thing you mentioned, I mean, it seems like a no shit comment, right? But that the non-stars of this series, and I'm going to classify Siakam and Halliburton as stars. I think they rightfully should be. The non-stars for the Pacers and the non-stars, the role players for the Thunder, have been the X factor of the series, just like you mentioned. And kind of gets into like my other takeaway from Game 6. Not only were the Thunder just kind of lackadaisical, came out kind of soft, not incredibly ready for the moment. I think it seemed like the moment was weighing on them a little too much. But the inverse is that the Pacers were obviously fighting for their lives, fighting for the season. But I thought they made some great adjustments defensively. And it's so interesting, like this Thunder team, that's what they hang their hat on. Like you mentioned, the team that's playing the quote unquote Thunder brand of basketball has been winning the games of this finals. But it's so fascinating to finally match up with the team who's able to match that intensity that the Thunder are able to bring. And they completely shut off the Thunder, both offensively, but I think you also have to look at it from a defensive standpoint as well. We've talked all season about this defense, how dominant they are, leading to those steals, those deflections, those missed shots that result in transition opportunities. And this Thunder's offense is best in transition. Last night, there was very little of that. But I think a big reason for that, Nick, and I'm curious your thoughts, Carlisle is coaching an incredible finals game. Yeah. And one thing that was fascinating to me, we talked, those first handful of games about Carlisle having his team basically go full court press, defend the Thunder all 48 feet of the court. He went away from that here at Game 6. And instead, they were attacking the Thunder, high point of attack defense right as soon as they passed the half court. But that allowed them to be able to conserve some energy, but also throw different looks at the Thunder. And I think he was just like, again, the different looks is what stands out to me. Doubling and throwing an extra defender on Shea on and off, keeping OKC guessing about where the second defender is going to be coming from. Sometimes you're expecting another defender because they've done it 2 or 3 possessions in a row. Then the third or fourth possession, there's not another defender coming at you. And the Thunder are still stuck in iso ball. And like all the above, I think has led to a lack of ball movement that we're seeing from OKC, where the Thunder are just settling for these ISO possessions, which are so many people in the comments talking about, which is frustrating. But there's a lot of stats that back that up. This is from Tom. I'm going blank now.
Haverstro?
Yeah, he changed his name on Twitter. I just have a screenshot here. But the Pacers passed the ball 107 more times than the Thunder last night. for the series, they have 705 more passes than the Thunder. That resulted in 21 turnovers for the Thunder last season. For most of the entire season, Shea had tied a season high 8 turnovers. Like, also the assist rate. I think the Thunder's assist rate for the season hovered around 42.5%. Or sorry, this for the finals, it's at 42.5%. But for the season, it was at around 60%. That's a huge drop off. And I think that the Pacers are doing such a great job of taking away those additional passing lanes, forcing the Thunder into iso ball possessions. And honestly, just like last night, the Thunder just kind of looked panicked when they didn't have those opportunities in front of them in comparison to game 5, where they just pretty much were able to zip the ball around and kind of get whatever they wanted.
Well, I agree there's a problem there. And it's a good, like, Tom is brilliant with numbers. Like that's what he does. I think the reason that's inflated a little bit is because for your assist rate to be high, you got to make shots, and the passing numbers are real. Like, you can't make those up. There's no. It's a black and white stat. You either pass a certain amount of times or you didn't.
Right.
But I think that the assist side of the story is very different. Like, at home, when they're assist, like you mentioned, game 5, I don't know how different the process was. Like game 6 looks way more ugly with the turnovers and all that kind of stuff. But like, I don't know how different the process was. They just weren't making shots. Like, especially to start the second half, man, they held Indiana scoreless for like the first 4 minutes of the second half. And it was like,
I think they were 0 of 8 to start.
They could really come back in this, but the Thunder couldn't score the ball. And it was like,
they were 0 of 12 to start.
They weren't perfect looks, but they were like threes. It was like Lou Dort had back-to-back misses that were like, oh, Lou Dort's gonna can those. So I agree that's a problem. I think that when you look at home and away assist numbers, it's largely driven by the supporting cast we've been talking about is not hitting shots. It's interesting. I think
that's my other thought, though. I think you're spot on. And so when I was looking at those stats, like the conclusion I'm coming to, it's like, especially when you look at the regular season stats of the Thunder, it's not like they just like zip the ball around all the time. They find the right shots. Mark's talked about this the entirety of the season. They have internal stats that show much better than synergy or any of the information we have available to us what a good shot or a bad shot is. They're getting good shots and good opportunities, but the Pacers know that the Thunder are struggling from threes these playoffs, especially on the road. And so you're going to get way less, obviously, assist numbers when you're not making your shots, to your point, but you're also going to get way less pass numbers or total pass numbers because you're getting the open threes that your coaches are telling you to take, but your guys can't hit the shots, which is what you've been hammering home since we talked about this game 6.
Yeah, I understand the concern with what you saw in game 6 and what you think will happen in game 6. Like in any sport, getting blown out one game and then expecting to win the next game is crazy in a lot of ways. But it's no different than like game 3 and 4 in Indianapolis. The Thunder got worked, to be honest, both games, besides the Thunder's late comeback in game 4. And then they come back and they win pretty convincingly the next game. Like, there's something to the home and the road that, like, you guys could run this tape back in 2 days and say, Nick, you're an idiot. They got killed at home in game 7 and the Thunder didn't win the title. But like, if you just look at what happens at Paycom Center in the playoffs, not just the series, in the playoffs, the data will tell you that the Thunder have a real advantage. Not only are they the team that is just favored just because of who's on the roster, but like at home, they're really freaking good, man.
Which is why Vegas has the line currently set at 7.5 in favor of the Thunder. And I think you're spot on there. Maybe a good transition into game 7, because I think outside we needed to give attention to game 6 because there was so much bad that happened. At the same time, just like Jacob, our guy Jacob has been talking so much about, like, there's a part of you as a Thunder fan who's watched this team for 104 games now, that just, you can kind of just throw this game out because we've seen how this team has responded. We know that's not how they play. That doesn't mean they're going to win game 7, but we know they're going to respond and play more of their brand of basketball, I think, come game 7 at Paycom, like you mentioned. But it's not just the playoffs in general. Like, this is really strange, Nick. We talked about this earlier in the series, but the comparison of the Denver series, the Western Conference semifinals, to the finals right now. Game 1, basically the Thunder dominated game 1 for the majority of the game. Or I shouldn't say dominated, but they were the better team, and they lose on a pretty crazy buzzer beater game winner.
They dominated. It was a game you did not think they were going to lose.
And you should have won both of those games. Game 1. Game 2, easy win. Both times. Both against Denver and against Indiana at home at Paycom. Game 3, the Thunder lost by 9 against the Nuggets and lost by 9 against Indiana. Game 4, gutsy win. They win by 5 on the road, come back. Same thing against Indiana. They win by 4 on the road. Game 5, solid home win. Series kind of looks done. All the momentum's in favor of the Thunder. Game 6, surprising road loss, favored by 5.5 points against Denver, being the Thunder, and a surprising road loss in Indiana. Also, the Thunder favored by 5.5. Nick, what happened in that Denver series, Game 7?
Blowout.
Back at Paycom.
Blowout.
Now, that doesn't mean that.
No, it doesn't mean.
Going to be but it leads to what you're saying about the Thunder being back home. But I think the only other thing, and I want to hear your thoughts on this, Game 7 of the NBA Finals is a different beast. Mm-hmm. We talk about the playoffs being a different game than the regular season, and Game 7s in the finals are like almost a different game than what's played during the playoffs. Anything can happen. And that kind of leads us into our discussion of Game 7.
Yeah, and I think that's why there's some level of randomness to this. Like, the Thunder lost by, 42 to the Timberwolves in that series, and then turn around and just like, the series is over. Like, that was just a blip on the radar. I just think that at this point, there's 48 minutes left in the entire NBA season. And as much as we or anyone listening to this will probably overanalyze and listen to all the pods, the Zach Lowe, the KOC, all the pods that exist out there, and read all the articles about the tweaks they should make and what happened in Game 6 and why this team should be nervous and why this team should feel good. I'm a believer in, like, you can, to be honest, throw the 104 games, like, throw that shit out the window. I don't care what happened in the regular season. I don't care what happened in any of the series. I don't care what happened in Game 6, one game ago. Like, 40. This is Game 7, and like you said, anything can happen. Like, anything can freaking happen. And it could be a TJ McConnell Finals MVP performance, and we could look back on this and say, how the hell did TJ McConnell win Finals MVP and the Pacers won a chip? That's a real scenario. Just as likely, if not more, is, Shea said, not in my house, drops 35 points to go along with J-Dub's 25. OKC wins a title. We're talking dynasty on our next pod, and Shea being a top 30 player of all time already, entering his peak. Like those are so drastically different scenarios that are determined on 48 minutes of basketball, which is like kind of unfair. Like, we talked about this on our uncontested text earlier. The outcome of Game 7 should not like drastically dictate how we viewed the season in totality. It probably will. Like, that's how the media will twist it, and that's how social media will twist it. But, like, my opinion, you throw everything out the window. This is a completely new game, and you just have to think about the fact that you're on your home court and you have the two best players.
Exactly. And look, like you and I talked about, like we talked about in our uncontested group chat today, yes, there's going to be adjustments. We saw a small adjustment from Nick Carlisle, like we mentioned earlier, of him not pressing full court Game 6, and kind of that the Thunder having to adjust to that and struggling with that, and a combination of many other factors. So there's going to be small factors like that. Like, Mark and the coaching staff is looking at that film. They're going to be prepared for some of those changes. They're going to come out with some changes of their own. But ultimately, people talking about like Alex Caruso start him, put him in the starting lineup, or, trying to think what else, like play Chet less or whatever it may be. That's not going to be the case.
No, and
The
like
Thunder have
the
gotten
Chet
here
hate,
for a
the
reason.
Chet hate needs
Oh, man.
a little monologue here.
I think you nailed it, Nick, when you talked about on Twitter Chet's minutes, or sorry, games played in his third year.
Not only that, like I'm not sitting here saying he deserves an excuse because he's
been awful offensively.
150 years. His offense has been really, 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 really bad. And he would say that if you asked him. He's been bullied on offense. His shot's not falling. For anybody that says Chet Holmgren should not play or he sucks or whatever, I'm not going to give you the numbers. I want you to go look it up. And if you're not smart enough to look it up, you shouldn't have an opinion on the matter. Go look at the Thunder's defensive rating in the NBA Finals when he is on the floor and when he's not. And I'd like you to tell me, after seeing that stat, if you can look it up, that Chet Holmgren should not be playing, because the Thunder are significantly worse in the regular season, in the playoffs, in the finals. No matter the circumstance, when he's out on the floor, the Thunder are nowhere near as good defensively. Not only that, before Game 6, which like everybody was like a J-Dub was like a negative 40, it blows up all the numbers. Chet was top 6 in the playoffs in plus minus, and like, yes, it's a team stat, but you have to be on the floor. If it was a team stat, you would see J-Dub up there, you'd see Caruso up there, you'd see all these guys up there. No, top 6 was Shea and Chet. Like, when Chet's on the floor, the Thunder are very freaking good, even if he's struggling offensively. Like, I don't understand the Chet hate.
Chet is the youngest player in the NBA history. I pulled this one out for the Discord to
Okay.
fight back on some people earlier today. Chet's the youngest player in NBA history to have 25 plus threes and over 30 blocks in a playoffs. The other names, Draymond Green, Rasheed Wallace, Al Horford, Miles Turner this year, funny enough, and Chet this year, Chet being the youngest. Not only that, Nick, the Thunder don't win Game 4 without Chet's incredible defense on
Oh
on
my
the perimeter.
God, dude, he's in space with Halliburton.
Right. And
This is pre-injury.
I know Chet didn't have a great offensive game 5 either when the Thunder played in their brand of basketball. Probably their best game of the finals, Game 5, outside of that comeback there, like in the third and fourth quarter from the Pacers. But Chet's defense and his impact, his rebounding. We haven't talked enough about his rebounding, and I wish we would have. I mean, it's all the intangibles right now that make Chet so important, so critical for this Thunder team. And he's just scratching the surface.
Yeah.
We saw what he looks like pre-injury, Nick, coming out of an offseason.
Yeah.
And
not to mention Game 3, while he didn't continue the momentum and he was really quiet the second half and they lost Game 3, he had like 12 points in the first quarter.
Yeah.
And in a game that, like, my memory is not going to serve me correctly, the Thunder had somewhere between 18 and 26 points, I think, in the first quarter of that game. And he had more than half. Like, he was outscoring the Pacers early in that game. While he ended up with not that many points in the second, third, fourth quarters, the Thunder are like getting blown out early if Chet's not scoring like he was in the first quarter. So like, I just like level the expectations. I hope, like, as somebody that just like, obviously, as like, we want the Thunder to win tomorrow or Sunday, just so like the pod vibes are high and like we have a ton to talk about and a positive light, and the offseason is not a shit show. If anyone deserves to have a hell of a Game 7, I hope it's Chet. Like forget Shea and Dub having their legendary moments in the finals. I hope it's freaking Chet that just goes out there and shuts everybody up.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. And like, I mean, he was kind of the catalyst there. Game 5 starting early. Nick, what are some other things we're looking for heading into Game 7? It doesn't have to be huge adjustments. It can be again, we've talked about this Thunder team and the Pacers. Game 7 of the finals, they're all the way to as far as you can go in the NBA playoffs. As many games as you possibly can play outside of every series going Game 7. My point being, we've talked about there not being like any big adjustments that could be made. And if they are made, it's probably ill-advised. On the flip side, we're going to have thoughts here at breaking down Game 7 that we already have talked about for very similar reasons. But is there anything else that kind of sticks out to you, what you're looking for Game 7?
The Thunder all season long, when they had unreal success, the only way to beat them, was to have fewer turnovers than them. It wasn't even like forcing more turnovers. It was just like, don't turn them. Like the strategy for the opponent was not, let's try to turn them over more. It was like, let's not turn it over on our side and hope that it's fewer than them. The Pacers have just dialed into this play style that's like, not only will we take care of the ball, but we will turn you over. And that's like unbelievably rare to do against this Thunder defense and this Thunder offense that just like didn't have to worry about it because they always won the turnover battle. I think if like a downstream effect of that is the bench scoring. So I think the Thunder bench, the Pacers bench both thrive off of transition and turning the ball over,
right,
or forcing turnovers,
which leads to ball movement.
Yeah, 100%. Like it all, again, process, result. I think that whichever team can impose their will on the defensive end and force turnovers, and on the flip side,
not turn it over
as much.
It seems so simple, but
it is
so spot on.
It's not simple to execute that on the court, but like I think when we look back at Game 7, regardless of the heroics from either side or whichever role player has the stupid ass 27-point game because they got hot from three, whatever happens, like the turnover battle should be huge.
Agreed. And the Pacers have done such an incredible job this series of taking care of the ball. I think that's been a huge pivotal theme of this series.
Yeah, and Lou Raw in the chat, the shot battle. It's a really good point. I think it lends exactly what I just said. In the first half of Game 6, the Pacers took 13 more shots than the Thunder. They were shooting a worse percentage from the floor than the Thunder, but they took 13 more shots. Do the math, you're going to be up. And that's a direct downstream effect of turnovers.
I have a similar stat as well that I had in my notes. Thunder are shooting way less threes, 23 3-point attempts per game this finals, compared to 38.8 per game in the regular season. A huge drop off, obviously. They went 1 of 11 in the first half of Game 6, and they didn't generate a single corner three, which we have seen so many corner threes generated for the Pacers. And it just basically falls on if they're hitting them or not.
That's a scary thing.
Very.
I mean, again, we're talking about the next 48 minutes, which is the last 48 of the season, assuming there's not overtime, affects the champion and like who ultimately wins it. All season long, the Thunder said, we are willing to give up corner threes, and just if they make them, we die by them. If they miss them, we live by them. Of all the optimism I brought on this pod, that's a scary freaking thing to say.
That's where the nerves kick in.
One game that matters most. One game is all that matters at this point.
Exactly. And some for the like. Look, nothing's given. This could be the most important game for every single player on both sides of the ball ever. Yeah. But if you assume, or if, obviously Shea, Chet, Dub have a higher probability, Halliburton, Siakam have a higher probability of getting back here again, in comparison to some of these other players who will be getting time on the court, this might be the biggest game of their entire lives.
Yeah.
It's do or die.
Yeah.
It's do or die.
And back to that point, like, the Thunder is not going to change their defensive scheme. They were historically good defensively for a reason, especially at home in the playoffs. If you expect Game 7 to not include corner threes, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
The Pacers will get corner threes, and not because Rick is scheming them up and he's a master. Like, he is a very good coach. He's one of the greatest coaches. Yep. That's a crux in the Thunder's defense, and they give those up. And that, like, of all the things that are controllable in Game 7, with like take care of the ball, role players hit shots, like that's all controllable to some degree. The Thunder are going to allow corner threes, and that could be the storyline. We'll see.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. Now, Nick, kind of some more big picture thoughts heading into this Game 7 before we head out here. You were texting in our group text, the Uncontested, just mentioning what this would mean for certain players, what this game means for certain players. You already mentioned on the podcast about Halliburton and, the negative discourse out there. That's all just for clicks and whatever. Like, is Halliburton the worst, quote unquote, superstar to win a championship? The flip side that you brought up, like, just talking about Shea, I'm trying to even think about how to word this, but if Shea were to pull this off, what that would do for his career. But that kind of brought up something I've been thinking about over the past couple of days. Game 5, the way the Thunder won the game, the story was J-Dub and role players stepping up. Aaron Wiggins, Caruso, we've seen that all playoffs.
Yep.
But when push comes to shove, when it comes down to Game 7, the most important game, like we keep talking about, it's going to come down to your best player. And I think this game is going to go the way that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander plays, the MVP of the league. Series or a career-defining moment potentially here. Like, the way Shai plays is going to dictate whether the Thunder win or not.
Yeah, I would put it this way: like, the role players will dictate if the game gets to a point where the stars have to be stars. Like, we've seen Shai enough in the playoffs to know that he's going. Rick Carlisle said it. Funny enough, the one time Rick Carlisle said it didn't actually happen. Shai's good for 30 to 35 points, no matter what the Pacers throw at them, the majority of nights. Like, we should expect Shai to score 30 in Game 7, 30 plus. What ultimately matters in quarters 1 through 3 is, do the role players do enough for Shai's heroics to matter in the fourth quarter?
Yep.
And, like, generally Game 7s are big for the stars. Like, the legends are made in a Game 7, especially the finals. Like, holy cow. But, like, it ultimately doesn't matter if Shai has 32 going into the fourth and Aaron Wiggins and Kaysen Wallace and Alex Caruso and Isaiah Joe and Kendrick Williams have done nothing. They're going to be down 15 or 20. It's not going to matter. We saw that in Game 6. Like, Shai didn't finish with the biggest stat line, but he wasn't bad through the first 3 quarters per se. But the turnovers are bad, but the scoring wasn't horrible. So I think if it gets down to that fourth quarter in a close game, you got to feel good for the Thunder. You have Shai, you have Dub. You should be fine in that situation. I think ultimately, like, irrespective of how it actually unfolds, like, if Shai has a good enough game, sometimes the bench doesn't matter. If he's just nuclear, it doesn't matter. But, like, to level set, Shai, no matter what happens on Sunday, is already in the Hall of Fame. Like, there's active MVPs that are not yet in the Hall of Fame because they're active. But if you look historically at guys who have won MVP of the league, they are in the Hall of Fame. Like, it's almost a guarantee. You combine that with, like, the Canada FIBA stuff, the scoring titles, the play to Kentucky. Like, the Hall of Fame is, like, holistic, like, not just NBA. It's like he's already in the Hall of Fame. Like, Shai's a Hall of Fame player.
It's not the NBA Hall of Fame. It's the basketball Hall of Fame.
Yes.
To your point.
And I think Shai, no matter what happens on Sunday, is already entering the conversations of, like, top 20 guard of all time. Like, that's probably not a super hot take. If he wins Game 7, and he doesn't have to score 50 or 60. Like, if he wins Game 7 and he is clearly a primary reason and wins that Finals MVP, I think we're talking about like the discourse online is probably going to be, again, too extreme. Like, they're going to be talking like top 2.
Yes.
Right. Combo guard of, like, it's going to be stupid, like too far to the extreme. It's going to be too far the other direction. If they lose, they're going to be saying, like, fraud, MVP, worst MVP ever. But I think if Shai wins this game on Sunday, the conversation shifts from, like, he's one of the best players right now and one of the faces of the league right now to, like, could he be like Kobe, Steph, like that kind of level in 3 or 4 years? Like, again, it's a big if they win Game 7, like, to be a great, you got to win. You have to win titles. And if he wins 1, we're talking about 2, 3, 4. He's entering the conversation, at least, of being an all-time great.
With Giannis and Jokic,
yeah,
right.
Totally.
They've got their ring, and can they get there get another ring to catapult them into the greatest all-time conversation.
And nobody's better equipped than Shea. Like,
correct.
I'm not saying Shea is a better player or all-time guy than Giannis or Jokic.
Situation.
Jokic is like
Nick, you and I are huge draft guys.
Unreal, dude. Jokic is a top 2 or 3 center ever to play basketball,
right?
In the entire world. But like, I think Shea's better equipped to win multiple than Jokic is, and winning again, it matters. It's not all dependent on one guy. But to your point, which is your original question, if the Thunder win Game 7, Shea conversations will be unreal.
So Nick, you and I are big draft guys. You even more so than I am. But we talk about this every season. It's not just the player in a vacuum, the prospect in a vacuum. It's fit. And that's what you're getting at with Shea, having more opportunity, because we see what's happened to Giannis post-championship. We've seen what's happened to the Nuggets post-championship, although they're still obviously in contention. They took Thunder to 7, a little more handicapped, right, than this current Thunder team. And so I think you're spot on there. Just some things I'm looking forward to, or looking for and hoping to see Game 7. And again, all these are going to seem very matter of fact. But like we talked about, Shea putting the team on his back, ultimately, that's going to be the reason the Thunder win. J-Dub continuing to be aggressive. I'm not expecting. I don't think it's going to happen. I won't. But I would put money on him not having another breakout game and not performing Shea, right? But him being aggressive, not settling for mid-range jumpers when he's pushed off of his spots, getting to the rim and playmaking, especially when Shea's being swarmed like he was Game 6, is going to be huge. Chet has to continue to be aggressive. He can't get scared of the moment offensively, like we saw in Game 5, like we saw in Game 1, like we see throughout the playoffs. He has to be able to respond to a very poor Game 6, be aggressive, and attack the rim, and obviously do what he does defensively. Then the Thunder have to play their brand of defensive basketball. Kaysen Wallace is going to have to step up. Kaysen and Caruso, I forget this stat, but them playing together in the finals is just like a piss poor plus minus, which is such an inverse of the entirety of the previous rounds of the playoffs. They're going to have to come in, muck things up, do what they do best, get those steals and deflections, find a way to get back out in transition, even if the Pacers are able to recover in transition. You can find ways in the half court, right? I'm trying to think how to win. Oh, and a role player needs to step up. Aaron Wiggins, maybe it's Caruso hitting, getting 20 points again. But you have to get some contribution off the bench on the road. And again, those seem also matter of fact, but that's how the Thunder have won games these finals. So those are kind of my final takeaways, what I'm hoping for heading into Game 7.
Yeah, I think Aaron Wiggins is a big, the bench is a big one in general. And Aaron Wiggins, I'm not sitting here saying is the swing guy or the only bench guy that can contribute. But as an example of how bad it's been on the road in this series, I'm going to give you some numbers in the finals. Some notable bench players on the road. Okay. Caruso, 9.3 points. Hartenstein, 5.3 points. Kaysen, 3.7 points. Aaron Wiggins, 2.0 points. Not good numbers. You flip that to the home side of things, and these are still not gaudy numbers, but Caruso at 11, Wiggins at 11.7, Kaysen at 7.
We're talking 20 more points off the bench right there.
Exactly. We're not talking Wiggins is 30 here and 2 here. It's 11 and 2.
Doesn't have to be a New York Knicks performance.
Right. But 9 extra points from Wiggins in this series per game. And Kaysen having an extra 4 or 5, Caruso having an extra 2 or 3. Now we're talking 14 points in a game. No wonder the Thunder are so much better. That is going to be a storyline. I don't think that when the series ends, we should criticize the bench if they don't get it done. Because again, it's all coming down to 48 minutes and the bench has been good at home. And it's not trade those guys. The discourse will be trade those guys for playoff performers. And it's okay, you're the GM of a team. I'm going to trade some of these guys And my criteria is they must be really good players shooting on the road in the NBA Finals.
Those guys are kind of expensive, Nick.
No shit. Like, you're talking about superstars. Like, nobody's consistently scoring at a high
Now, I'm
level.
not
in the
talking
NBA Finals
draft
on the
picks.
road.
I know the Thunder have all the draft picks in the world right now.
Yeah.
We're talking salaries and
Yeah.
what that does to the depth of this team. Now, on the flip side, I thought Zach Lowe and Howard Beck, what up, Beck, did a really good job breaking down this game. And one issue for the Thunder that we've seen throughout this series is, yes, they're so deep. That's been a huge positive for them to have I shouldn't say random guys, having different guys like an Aaron Wiggins or a Cason Wallace or an Alex Caruso, although Caruso's been pretty consistent the entire playoffs. My point being, like, there always seems to be some guy that can step up in that role, but when they don't, I mean, we saw what we did game 6, right? We saw what we saw game 3 against the Pacers. There's no consistent option. And so that leads to Mark continuing to throw out 8, 9, 10 guys trying to find that, where it to Thunder fans' points, it would be nice to have somebody reliant off the bench on a game-to-game basis, which I get and I understand.
But, like, pick your favorite bench option. It could be Cam Johnson, it could be Jordan Clarkson, it could be like pick the most consistent bucket off the bench and look at their box scores, regular season or playoffs. Nobody is like a guaranteed X number of points per game. Like, when someone averages 14 points per game in the playoffs, even like the most consistent scores, it's not like it's 12, 15, 14, 12. It's like 21 and 7
and 4,
14. Yep. And it's not how it works. And I guess like one of my last points that I'll just say, 2 things. One, I think Kenrich plays a big role in the finals. I think, hot take, we look back at this show, and when the Thunder win the NBA Finals, Kenrich Williams is a big reason. Number 2, I think that when we evaluate this season in totality, the Thunder have played over 100 games. They were historically dominant in the regular season. They, for the most part, were dominant in the first 3 rounds. Like, I know Nuggets went 7, but like, they were the better team and they won. We'll see if they're the better team and they win in game 7 of the finals. What we should not do is, if they lose, start talking about all the changes that need to be made, versus if they win, why the roster is perfect. 'Cause that's kind of what happens, is like, they won the finals, like, let's just run it back and win it again. If they lose, it's like, oh, we got to overhaul everything. And it's like, the 48-minute random game on June 22nd should not dictate the entire offseason. Like, we got to look at the whole body of work.
Win or lose, there's some things that they can improve on.
Let's not do that.
Consistent 3-point shooting.
Yes.
Like, that's something we'll talk about that in the offseason.
Yes.
But no, they shouldn't just trade Isaiah Joe and Aaron Wiggins for fill in the blank Cam Johnson. Like, it doesn't work that way anyways.
Let's not look at game 7 or the 7 games of the NBA Finals and talk about that's how the Thunder season was, because there was 100 or there's 99, I think, what it'll be, games leading up to the finals where we also have a sample size of data. And
correct.
While I'm not saying win or lose, the Thunder should do nothing this summer, because I think they should explore a lot of things. The result of a 48-minute game on Sunday night does not encapsulate their entire season. So let's not look at it that way.
Even though, to your point, opposing fan bases particularly, and then also national narratives to get their clicks and to, get people pissed off, and also people engaged who hate the Thunder, like, they should be doing this. I can't believe they didn't do this. Like, don't get caught up in it. You're spot on. You're thinking about it the right way. I think we've done a great job of breaking down game 6. Looking forward to game 7. Last thing before we get out of here, Nick. This is game 7 of the finals in Oklahoma City. I think a lot of us fans and a lot of us who have covered the team have done a lot of reminiscing. We've done so in our uncontested group chat. I was just thinking back to being at the very first game in 2008 when the Thunder were here. Even previous, when Chris Paul and the Hornets, how cool that was that they were relocated for a season, although for terrible reasons, but how awesome that was for OKC, how the city has changed. You and I, and some of our friends being ball boys, you and I getting to be ball boys during a Memphis Grizzlies Thunder playoff run. The different opportunities we've had starting the podcast, you becoming a credentialed reporter for Forbes and SI and getting to actually cover this team, getting to do what we do, going to Indianapolis Summer League, all the memories we have with our family and our friends for this team, like, and then seeing Game 6, the buzz, like the game wasn't even being played in OKC, Nick, and the buzz around downtown the entire day leading up to the game was insane. There was a huge police presence around OKC downtown, just in anticipation if Thunder were to win, and the fans just going out and celebrating. Like, what do you anticipate from this fan base for this city come Game 7, all day Sunday, and then heading into that arena for Game 7 of the NBA Finals?
God, it's a loaded question. I don't know. I think you may be better equipped than me to answer that question, to be honest. What I don't think it'll be is like when Philly wins a Super Bowl and they have to grease the poles because people are like, do I think there'll be crazy shit happening? For
sure. I'm not talking about arrest and
No,
crazy stuff.
Do I think there'll be sledgehammers and cars on fire? Probably not, because I think Oklahoma City has decent human beings.
What would it mean for the city outside of just basketball? Because I feel like it's so much more than just basketball for the city.
I mean, the Thunder ignited the city between 16 and 17 years ago. And if you're not from OKC, if you look at what downtown and Bricktown looked like in 2008 compared to now, you could look at the economic numbers all day and it's going to tell you phenomenal stuff. But you just look at the scenery. I mean, most recently, look at Scissortail Park and like, dude, that's unbelievable stuff. And that's because of the Thunder. Like, you don't build a park of that size, magnitude, and cost unless you have a really good basketball team across the way.
The new arena being built.
The new arena.
Cox Convention Center currently being under not renovations, being demolished. Like,
I think that maybe the coolest part of the Thunder is, if you're not from Oklahoma, you probably don't appreciate this as much, but Oklahoma State and OU, despite the all-time record, miss me in the comments with all that, is like one of the
spoken like a true OSU alumni.
It's one
you're
of the
right. You're right.
It's one of the most like intense rivalries in all of college sports because Oklahoma doesn't have a lot. So like people live and die by OU football, live and die by Oklahoma State football. And Bedlam was a big thing every year. Like the tickets to get into Bedlam were like damn near NBA Finals Game 3 price. Like every year. Like it's a big deal. But then like the guy that you're talking shit to about Bedlam is all of a sudden like your homie for the Thunder. Like it didn't matter all the hate when it came to all the other stuff. The Thunder is like Oklahoma in a nutshell. So like it's a huge deal, man. And I think that from a small market perspective, there's a lot of like expansion talks in the NBA and the WNBA and the NHL. I think regardless of the outcome, whether it's Indiana or OKC, like this is a success story for professional sports. And if it is OKC, God, man, they've been through some shit. I think of 2012 finals, you win game 1 and you think, could they do this with a group of 21, 22, 23-year-olds? You think about 2016 up 3-1 against the Warriors. Like you can't lose, and then you lose. Every fan base has these teams that you think back on, like that should have been the one.
Yep.
I can't think of a situation in Oklahoma sports history where winning a championship is right in front of your nose and you're the favorite and you should win it and it's on your home turf. Like this is like special stuff. Like
historic
stuff.
Stuff.
We've never seen this before, to be honest.
I think you nailed it from a Thunder fan perspective and everything the Thunder fans have been through, from the team coming in 2008 to Presti building Thunder 1.0 up with James Harden, Kevin Durant, Russell Westbrook, and then losing that finals game to the LeBron Heat but they'll be back. Then the James Harden trade, and then KD leaves July 4th, right? The rebuild, or not the retool, bringing in Paul George and Melo, which is the season that we all started the Uncontested, trying to retool around Paul George and Russ, and then the rebuild that we all have been through and we've covered here at the Uncontested. That's why it means so much to Thunder fans. But outside of that, for the city as a whole, I've been reading so many comments and just trying to put this all into context. But like prior to the Thunder being here, if you mentioned Oklahoma City, it was known for the bombing, right? And
30 years ago,
right? Almost on the right. And it's just I think the best way to sum this all up, our good friend JG Brown, longtime listener, Patreon member, had this comment here 3 days ago that I thought was spot on. He said, "We all know what our city was like 20 plus years ago. To me, a championship represents the culmination of everything that has transformed OKC, from a place I grew up wanting to leave to my home that I love. It's validation of our new identity, and there's a lot of pride in that." And I think there's nothing more spot on than that. Pretty incredible moment to get to cover this team and talk about them on a podcast, just getting to talk about with you guys, experience with some of my very best friends, with my family. I think some of them are going to be up on Sunday. Really special, win or lose. We're very blessed. Before we get out of here,
just one comment, just real quick before we get out of here. People are gonna hate hearing this because everyone wants to win. Like that's the whole point of sports. Win or lose, the fact that a franchise that I'm just like backtracking back to the history, you lose a first ballot Hall of Famer, like probably the best scorer to ever play basketball, for nothing in a year where the cap spike is so significant historically
that it will never happen again.
Any other year in NBA history, Kevin Durant could not have left. You go through that, and despite being a small market, you still retool. Taylor did a good kind of description of what happened from there with Melo and PG, etc. Like, if you talk to any NBA scout or front office personnel, like they always talk about like the three things you can do to improve a roster. It's draft, trade, free agency. And the Thunder are pretty handicapped with two of those three things. Like they're not bringing people in free agency. And like Sam's been pretty open about that, like behind closed doors and in public too. Like when they think about roster building, it's trades and draft. And when it's trades, it's guys they trade for they believe will re-sign. Alex Caruso, for example.
That complement the core of the team, which is built through the
But will also stay. Like if Alex didn't have the OKC blue, Alex is also a great human being. If Alex didn't have the OKC blue ties, like, do you make that trade if you don't know you could keep him around long term? You know, I think the Thunder knew when they traded for him that he's going to resign. Like it was kind of a predetermined thing, but that was largely because he had the ties. Like there's a lot of guys that have that level of impact you can trade for, but like if they're on a 1 year left in their deal, like maybe you don't do it because you don't know if they're going to stick around because you're a small market. So like of the three ways you can improve a roster, like the Thunder has 1.5 really ways to improve because you can trade for guys all you want. Like Paul George, for example, bro, if PG didn't re-sign with OKC, they're
there's no fucked. Shea and there's no draft picks.
They're fucked. Right. They're fucked. Like they're very handicapped, and the way that Sam has like just navigated this and threaded the needles over and over and over is special. And I think that, I mean, if they win, it's phenomenal. If they lose, my point being, you have a small market team with a handicap and all the wind at their sails the wrong direction. It's a headwind, and they're still in the NBA Finals in Game 7. Like, I know it's going to be toxic. I know everyone's going to be pissed. Try to like still appreciate what's happening. Like it's a significant deal for the city, win or loss, that they're even in the situation.
Absolutely. Spot on. And I think we just encourage fans Tomorrow's going to be an extremely anxiety-ridden day. There's no game. Just soak it all in. If you're around the arena, if you get to be around the arena on Sunday, it doesn't matter if you go in or not. I don't know if I'm going to get to go or not. Being around the arena, being around those people, being around fellow Thunder fans, remember every second of this.
Yeah.
Yes, it may hurt more when they lose, but it also would mean way more when they do win. Just remembering every second you can of this, because like Nick has said over and over on this podcast, it's not given that this Thunder team will be back here again.
Think about all of your friends that troll you, whether it's a Mavs fan or a Celtics fan or a whatever fan, wherever you're from, wherever your friends are fans of, they will probably troll you if you lose. But the reality is they would have killed to be in Game 7 with a chance to win a title. Like it's just the reality.
What it comes
hoops.
down to.
That's hoops.
Exactly. This is what we do it for. This is why, like Mark said, like Shay has said, they performed so well in the regular season to get back here, Game 7 at home. So before we head out here, we have a super chat, Nick, from our guy Shadow, El Sombra Reggio, and Isaiah Joe 9 for 12 3-point barrage in the finals will be real nice right about now. Man's done it multiple times this season. Would be nice. Yeah, our guy Shadow has been talking about this all playoffs, just waiting for it. Nick, you and I have some maybe slightly informed, maybe more hypothetical. Just I don't know. I'll say it this way.
He may not play.
J-Dub's wrist is not the only wrist bothering a player on this team. But yes, I would not be surprised if Isaiah Joe doesn't play. And like I said in the Discord, if he only plays a couple of minutes. Maybe one more thing looking forward to Game 7, Nick. I think we see a more tightened rotation, probably consisting of the starting 5 plus Caruso plus Kaysen plus Wiggins.
Yeah.
And Ousmane Dieng after his great finish to Game 6.
We'll talk more after the show or after the game. I don't know how much burn Kaysen will get, to be honest.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That's
a great point.
I don't know.
I mean,
they will not
another 10 minutes on Kaysen.
They will not play their best 5 guys 48 minutes. That's correct. That will not happen. Like someone has to come sub in, but I just don't know. Like Game 5, he hit those first 2 threes, and I think that's the reason he played more. If Kaysen misses those first 2 threes, I don't think you see him again.
And I'm equally excited. Your rant about Chet that was spot on.
Yeah.
Same thing here with Kaysen.
Yeah.
I'm so ecstatic about Kaysen Wallace and his future. He's a second-year player. No wonder he's struggling some in the spotlight. My gosh, will this series pay dividends for him down the road?
Agreed.
But to your point, that's also my prediction. I think Alex Caruso gets about as many minutes, if not as many minutes, as the starting core 4 outside iHeart.
Yeah. Last question for you before we get out of here.
Well, I got one more for you too. You go.
Shit. Okay. My question for you.
It's a Friday. Nick and I have been hanging out. It's I get Nick for a while. We don't have to go to bed super early. This is
it's 11:53. We're early right now. If the Thunder win Game 7 Sunday night, it'll be probably 10:30ish, and the NBA has said they'll have the trophy ceremony. They're so
I
calculated.
lied. I have 2 questions for you, and I'm interrupting on purpose. Will you be at Game 7 covering the game?
Yes.
Hell yeah.
The NBA is calculated, and they said between the 6 and the 8-minute mark of the final buzzer, they will have the court prepared, ready for the ceremony. So we're talking by 11. The Larry OB would be hoisted by whichever team. Where will you be for the game? And then I want to ask you like a adventure kind of question. Choose your adventure. If the Thunder loses, where are you at 11? If the Thunder wins, where are you at 11? Are you like hanging around the arena to, if they win, you're like right there in the action? Or are you like, I have to be at home for Game 7 because I can't be around human beings. I'm gonna be a mess. Like where are you at?
I am the type that's going to be around the arena, whether I am in the arena or not, whether one of our friends can come through or not, or whether my parents decide to let's just do it and get in the arena. Either way, I will be around the arena watching the game. I will say this, as much as I love our uncontested watch parties, it is very difficult to follow the game. Every single time we've done one, I have to go back and rewatch the game. And I wouldn't have it any other way because I want to interact with the people and be there experiencing it with them. but I'm not as locked in as I would be otherwise. So saying that, I will be somewhere where I'll be surrounded by Thunder fans, but I can still watch the game and be locked in and just take in every single moment if I'm not in the arena. Afterwards, 11 p.m., win or lose, win, I'm staying out downtown. We're staying out downtown, taking it all in. I just want to document it, you know? There's even a part of me that wants to go into the Devon Tower and go up some floors and like record it because I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah.
Again, this is all like hypotheticals and I still have to decide on it. If they lose, I'm going to be very upset and just going back to my car and heading home. And we will probably do a podcast either Sunday night or more likely Monday.
That's been a question in the chat. Like, what's the pod schedule if each scenario happens? I'll speak for the pod. If the Thunder wins, I wouldn't expect a podcast. You may expect like a Jacob or somebody,
a 5 a.m.
or like somebody's on their phone streaming StreamYard and like they're downtown Bricktown, like not like real analysis.
We're gonna take it all in and celebrate if it happens.
For sure.
If they
and
lose,
lose. I don't know if there will be kind of like Game 6. I don't know if there will be a show. I'm personally, if the Thunder wins, I'm gonna stick around for the ceremony at half court and go to media and stuff. Like I'll be around. And I've already committed to staying overnight in OKC. If they lose, like
Lace.
I am saying Head Lace is awesome. If they lose,
I might be as well if they win. Let's be completely honest.
There you go. If they lose, I don't really have a lot of like business reasons to stick around and watch the Pacers half court hoisting Larry O'Brien. Like it's not going to enhance or make my story worse. Like I'll probably drive back to Dallas at that point. So, my Sunday night could go very different directions. I could either be up and staying out in OKC till 3 or 4 in the morning and babysitting Taylor, or I could be back in Dallas by 2 a.m. and go to bed.
Yep. I think that's fair.
What do you prefer, Taylor?
Well, let it be on the record that there was no Nick babysitting me on my birthday. I think it was the inverse.
God, your birthday was wild.
But in all honesty, there's nobody else I don't want to experience a win or loss with than with you guys.
Yeah.
All being there around the arena, my very best friends, my closest friends, Nick, one of my longest friends, as well as my family, who I think at least my mom and dad will be there, which is really special.
Yeah.
And hopefully Brooks in some capacity, but obviously it will be a little late for him.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, man.
And the listeners, don't forget the listeners. Like you,
absolutely, the listener.
Like
there's nothing more special. There's been nothing more special. We've talked about throughout the playoffs, but like going to Indianapolis, like we talked about, walking around the arena. I like went with my neighbor to a couple games, and it's like, dude, you're like a celebrity. I'm like, no, I'm not. Trust me.
Yeah.
But it's so cool having people come up and just wanting to have the watch party. People coming up and like, hey, Taylor, I haven't gotten to see you yet. Like this, and that's so cool. And we appreciate all of you. We're just like all of you. We just are here talking on microphones about our favorite team, and we appreciate you all. Can't wait to experience it with you, win or loss.
Yeah,
we will be here with you all. Nick, it's crazy. Like honestly, I hope this continues because it's so fun to cover basketball at this point. On June 20th, here in a minute, it'll be June 21st.
Yeah.
Rather than trying to come up with like off-season topics, but less than a week from now, the NBA draft is happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I usually like to like jump in, do some bonus podcasts and give the Discord listeners some bonus content. We just haven't gotten to yet because the Thunder are in Game 7 of the NBA Finals. With the NBA draft to look forward to as well. You and I have a ton of thoughts about that. Maybe at some point next week before the draft, we can jump in, maybe run some ideas by guys like Silva and Jacob who haven't dove into it quite as much, but obviously know exactly what the Thunder want and potential fits. So be on the lookout for that as well, listeners. We'll have some draft content coming your way. Thank you guys for hanging out with Nick and I on a Friday night after the Thunder lose Game 6. So much to be excited about. A huge 48 hours coming up for the city and obviously for the franchise. And thanks for sticking with the Uncontested the entirety of the season. We'll have you guys covered moving forward, win or lose, like I said. And until Sunday, maybe Monday, I don't know. We'll see. Thunder up.